The point was, when you know someone, you serve them. I was kind of going off of what you said.
Yes.
The more you know God, the more you want to serve Him and get involved. You can't possibly just find a church and sit down and watch. How could you? I don't get it. It's the same feeling as the person who goes through all the practices and lives through the practice like you live through your faith, but doesn't want to play the game. I couldn't get that. I don't understand the person who would say, "Yeah, I believe in Jesus, I'm a Christ follower," but not actually do anything.
Well, let me ask you this, because I actually think that probably represents a large group of people. Like,
yeah, it
the
does.
people that attend church and are inactive. I mean, so what is it? So
I think we've trained them that way. A lot of pastors do that because as long as I'm doing everything, I'm the hero, and you need me. And I'm like so opposite of that, which it's like you don't need me. You need God. Get involved, do something. I'll do my gift. You do your gifts. The gifts God's given you, and that's how He designed the body to be. He didn't design the body to have 2 or 3 staff people do everything. We totally screwed it up.
Actually, that's a good point. It could very well be an impact of the hierarchical nature of the modern church. Where
they're getting paid, let them do it.
He's the head of the church. He should be involved. He should have to do this. And we have an associate pastor. What is that anyway? Well, maybe he has to do something. What are we keeping him on staff for? He has an email address.
Even worse than that is the pastor saying, "Well, I have a place for you to serve. Here's your place.
Yeah,
I got an opportunity for you," and you put up somebody in a place where they're not gifted to be. And that's a drag.
That's horrible. That's a lose for everybody.
Yeah.
And that would completely discourage me. And just think how many people are discouraged because of that. Mm-hmm. Oh, you come work in the nursery. I hate kids. Well, we need you.
Sometimes
we just need a dude.
Sometimes it doesn't matter which short term just because it needs to be done.
Right.
Just as like at home, somebody had to wash the dishes. Was I passionate about that? No. Did I go, man, I want to wait for this? I can't wait till I do dishes. No. Sometimes you just have to do stuff. But predominantly I do the stuff I'm passionate about at home. And it's the same thing as in the church family.
How do you find janitors? Are people predominantly passionate to say, I want to be on the clean team?
Actually, I think there are. And the thing is, just because it's not you, like there's a lot of things that people do that I look at and I say, no, I don't want anything to do with it. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, why are you doing that?
But that's their place. That's their place to serve. That's where God has led them to serve, and they like it. And they're serving. Here's the thing: is there's no difference between the guy that's scrubbing John and the guy that's giving the sermon. Right. Like they're both serving God, and that's awesome.
Equally.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Equally. And you might as well dig on scrubbing the John if that's what God has you up to. What are you going to do? You going to argue with that? I mean, get comfortable, get scrubbing.
Yeah, man. Buy yourself some high quality gloves and have at it.
He wants to go to barehead.
The Lord only does all natural toilet cleaning. Good luck, Jimmy Buffett.
I did a sermon series like years ago. We lived in Atlantic, and it was on spiritual gifts, and it was just one spiritual gift at a time to kind of explain it and unfold it. Here's what it is, blah, blah, blah. And like every week I was like, well, that's not my gift. And toward the end of the thing, people are like, what good are you? People are starting to ask, you don't have any of the gifts. Well, I don't have any of those gifts. I'm not any good at that stuff. Sometimes I'll do some because you do. But, I got to my gifts later. But
was good looking one of the spiritual gifts?
That's just natural for me. It just flows.
I was asking for myself.
Oh. Pressure now.
Sorry, Dan.
No pressure. I got a question. Most pastors, in my opinion, preach to the 20% who are already serving and want them to serve more. Mm-hmm. When you look out there, are the 80% as important as the 20%? Is it the same to you? Do you feel a real sense of inflicting guilt upon the 80 to become the 20? Or are you satisfied with the 80?
You know what?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm talking about?
It is not my job to create guilt, all right? It's my job to teach truth. And so I look at it from here's what God says, and then everybody has to do with it what they will. So I'm not necessarily trying to motivate, that 20% to add more onto their life. However, the 80% is doing nothing. I'm hoping you're feeling God kicking them in the butt a little bit, saying, oh, wow, I'm really kind of falling short. I'm not doing my part.
Well, what if the 80% were getting it right? Just showing up and loving the Lord for their time that they can, and the Lord loves them for the time that they're spending there. What if they're getting it right and the 20% are too zealous? Is there a possibility that could be true? I mean, God's real happy with us, isn't He?
Yeah, but I would say the 80%.
Isn't He happy with us all the time?
The
Father looks down and He sees who? Does He see me? He sees Jesus. So is He not happy with those people?
No. He's upset.
It's Him to work harder?
I mean, James says faith without works is dead. So if you're doing nothing, your faith is dead.
Well, isn't coming on that Sunday and worshiping and being with God, and isn't that enough?
That's showing up for the show. That's
The 80% would have nowhere to go if the 20% weren't doing anything. You know what I'm saying?
Especially in our
ain't gonna work
church.
like that.
Somebody's got to put a chair down for him.
I mean, hooray for the 80%, but if the 20% were doing nothing, they'd be standing outside the field looking around.
If we had this right, don't you think the church would be busting at the seams if we had this right? But the 80% aren't being appealed to, I think, in a matter because they feel, well, I'm not part of the 20, and they're always trying to get me to do something.
Hey, man,
I don't want to do that.
You and the devil put you in that place. Nobody else. You know what I'm saying? Like the 80%, it's you and it's Satan putting you right in that position. Because the only thing that separates you from the 20% is you walking.
I figure everybody has a next step. I don't care if you're the 20 or the 80. We all have a next step. So my goal is always to say, wherever you are, where's God leading you to take your next step?
Is that an accurate description, by the way, 2080? Is that further right?
I think that's laziness on a pastor's part to try and make people feel guilty. Let's let God do his job. We'll teach truth and let the word speak for itself. And get out there and disciple. Get off your butt and do something. Lead by example and lead the way. You know, because some pastors are like, hey, you know, I get the big chair and I get the special parking spot and I wear the special clothes and you can kiss my ring if you're lucky. You know, that's a load of crap too.
I like the 80.
You like the 80?
I like the 80. I'd rather fellowship with the 80. I'd rather talk with the 80. I'd rather do like we talked earlier of sharing your testimony with the 80 and sharing my time with the 80.
Well, sure.
The 20 get on my nerve. Come on. 20%. They do all the work. Come on. They take their territorial. This is mine. You know.
Well, see, they do it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you've been hurt, haven't you?
You've had some problems with the 20, apparently.
Well, I grew up Southern Baptist, so 20 is the most.
Well, that's a whole different ballgame.
I'm anti-20.
Some of the 20, See, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges,
right?
Because it is easy to get so stuck on the do's and don'ts and that of church life that maybe for they started for the right reason, serving. But somewhere along the line, they were serving just for the sake of serving, or to get their own personal little attaboys or something, and they're not really doing it for Jesus anymore. And they start losing track of that, then everything gets messed up, and then they're more concerned with their little world than people. And
but you guys are only describing situations where it's gone poorly. You know, there's some dudes that
poor leadership in the church. Not slapping people around saying
there's people in that 20% that you're talking about. They're just wired that way.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
They're
Not sharing.
Just like when in giving, if I'm giving to the church, you're giving to the don't give. We tell people don't give. You're giving to Pathway. We don't want your money. God doesn't need it. Whatever. It's until you figure out you're giving to God, and then that's a whole different mentality.
Are we talking? Is the 80 the I show up, I soak it up, I head out?
Yes.
I don't do anything else.
Me. Yeah.
That doesn't seem, but that's not biblically consistent.
We're trying to reach these people, and we're going to treat them all the same.
Well, no, but I think there's a distinction, though. There's a distinction between like.
Please get fired up.
There's
He puts his pin down. That means you're in trouble. You better be ready for it.
There's a distinction by not trying to inappropriately guilt them, which is not your position, and acquiescing to an inconsistent lifestyle. You know, but not being a voice of encouragement and truth of how the Bible says to live. Like I think you need to be cognizant of the thing where you shouldn't be going around pointing fingers, because that's not your job. You're not the finger pointer. But the minute you start backing away from truth because it might cheese somebody off.
I have nothing to do with it.
Well, but I think that's the exact realization that makes, because if you're saying that, it's that exact thought that will, I think, be the example for people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you can say, look, I have nothing here. Everything I am is the God that I know, and everything I am is the forgiveness that I've been given, and everything that I have is the grace that He's shown me. What example do you need? And everything. Some guy will come to you and say, look, I've had a problem with drugs in the past, and I did this and I did that, and I'll say I haven't. Right. But you and I are saved by the same grace, brother.
Absolutely.
You look exactly at the same. Yeah. At my sin is your sin. It's the same. The Lord sees it no different. We're both two kids who failed our Father, and just look at him and say, I got nothing. And He says, well, good, because I got everything. We're covered. Mm-hmm. And so I think that testimony is just.
It almost sounds like be wary of overachieving for the Lord, lest you piss Him off. like that's your description of the 20. Is the guy that goes reads the Bible and applies it, maybe to the offense of the guy that isn't doing anything, very well may need more grace because you've horsed the Lord off with your. But why provide the example? Why provide Jesus as the example as a servant if we're not intending to follow that example as servants?
Wham!